All right, and then let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, are you guys seeing my PowerPoint? Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so starting with 450, guys. You guys have 80 hours this semester. That is the requirement for 450, and that will end up getting you to the magic number of 200, or at least 200, because you might have more. Because that's the magic number that Kentucky has deemed that allows you to be able to student teach, is having the 200 clinical hours. So this semester, you will be going on Wednesdays to your clinical. So we have the expectation that you're there all day, every Wednesday. And it ends up being, after this week, you will have 13 days in the classroom. And it's a 7 day, or I'm sorry, a 7 hour day. So if you do the math, you're looking at 91 hours. So it gives you a little bit of a buffer, especially if, hopefully we don't have any weather or illness or anything like that, but we have a little bit of a buffer. But I still want, and if you guys want to go and it works in your schedule to go more than Wednesdays and your CT is game, do it. But you have to go the whole semester. It doesn't matter if you hit 80 hours with 3 weeks to go, you still got it. It's still for the entirety of the semester, guys. Also, just like you've been doing in all your other clinicals, you're going to log those hours weekly into SLL and KEX, both. And so because you're going every Wednesday, starting next week, we should see that number grow every week. And so we want to be able to make sure that you're staying on pace to get that 80 hours, okay? You'll work with if you haven't already got your placements, Miss Gibson, one of our clinical educators, is actually working today and tomorrow on emailing you guys with your placements for whom you're placed within the districts, and also who your assigned clinical educator is. So be on the lookout for an email from Miss Vicki Gibson for that. Once you get that email, and I'll say it again later, go ahead and email your EKU clinical educator and introduce yourself and see if, there's anything else that they need to add on their end. And then also go ahead and email that cooperating teacher that you're placed with. Let them know that, you're coming next Wednesday, and ask them, what time and where to park and where do they want you to come in at, just all those kind of good basic first day kind of things. But be ready to go Wednesday to that clinical. Now, just like we have in the past, you guys can still do 5 hours outside of your assigned placement of your 80 hours. So if you guys sub for your district, or if you volunteer at the school for okay, you can hear me now. I think I went muted for a minute for some reason. Okay. I'm not going to go through these next slides in detail, because again, it's just a refresher on how to log stuff in KEX. But really why it's in here and what I want to point out to you guys is this particular slide is that 99.9% of the time, if there's a discrepancy of me saying, okay, I only have you at 60 hours, and you're like, no, I have 72. It's usually because of human error. We're humans, we make mistakes, we all do. You've logged something wrong, like you picked the wrong semester or the wrong clinical, the wrong institution, whatever, and that's why. So just make sure that, you're double checking that as you log, so that when we pull those reports, that it's reflective of what your true hours are. Okay. Just like your previous clinicals, guys, it's contract grading. Everybody starts with an A. It's up to you on whether or not you keep that A. In order to keep that A, those bullet points right there, that's what we need to see. No dispositional issues. And guys, you guys know this by now. The biggies that, usually create issues dispositionally is, lack of communication, not responding to emails with your CEs, with my office, with the CT, timeliness and turning in things, or, showing up late to clinicals or not showing up at all and not letting your, CE and CT know, those kinds of things. So, obviously we should be treating this seriously like it's a job, so you should be showing up on time. You should be doing the things in a timely manner. Also, the next one, not submitting, you have to be submitting those lesson plans 2 business days prior to the lesson. So you guys are going on Wednesdays. So, Sunday night, Monday morning at the latest, that's when you should be getting it to your clinical educator so they can review it and have time to give you feedback before that lesson. With your post-observation reflection, you should be turning those in within 3 days of your lesson. Again, going back to submitting those hours weekly in SLL and KEX. And then the last one, you're going to notice a difference. In your 300 and your 400 clinicals, you only had to get a 2, a holistic 2 on that final eval, right? We're bumping it up to a 3 for 450 and also student teaching. At this point, you guys are seniors, you're in your last couple semesters, you've had the vast majority of your content courses, you've had a lot of experience at this point out in clinical. So, the expectation is that those lessons are stronger than they were last year. Now, having said that, if you get a 2 the first time, don't freak out. Like, it's okay. You're going to teach 4 lessons. You're going to teach all 4 content areas. Now, for my purposes, you're only going to actually get 3 of them scored, but you're still going to do all 4 of them. And it's okay if the first one's a 2. That's what your clinical educator's for. That's what your methods instructors are for. Your CT, they're going to help mentor you and get you where you need to be by the end of the semester. So just listen to their feedback and, take that in and do what they say, and you will have no problem getting that 3 by the end of the term. Now, also having said that, don't get upset if you don't get a 4, because that's the highest. Teachers that have been doing this for like years don't get 4s. It's not. And I'm probably would have been somebody that would have tore me up because, I was the person that, oh my God, if I didn't get all A's. But that's not the norm. So if you don't get a 4, don't freak out and think, oh, I shouldn't do this. I'm not cut out for it. No, that is not the case at all. Trust me. Getting that 3 is great. That's what we want to see. Now on the flip side, if you don't do those things, you may, drop a letter grade, or you may fail the course if you don't if you don't get the holistic 3, if you don't get to those 80 hours and have them logged, getting multiple 1s and 2s on dispositions, and then obviously just not doing your lessons. So, it's easy, guys, to keep your A. You just got to do those things. Now, if you notice on the second bullet point on the slide, you will have 5 days at your clinical prior to what we need for our midterm for our clinical educators to submit grades. So I should see 35 hours logged by the end of the day on Friday, October 2nd. If I don't, and you haven't already came to me with something's happened to where you couldn't and I've okayed it, then you're not going to have an A at midterm. So just be aware. And it doesn't even matter if you did go. Say you did go all 5 days. If you don't have them logged, then we don't know that, and we will drop you a letter grade. So just make sure you're logging them. Pick a day every week, whether it be the Wednesday night after you go or Fridays or whatever. Just pick a dedicated time and put it in your calendar. I'm going to log my hours every week at this time. And then you don't have to worry about, it's automatic. Canvas shells. If you haven't been in our Canvas shell yet, you'll notice that it looks really different. I want to give a huge shout out to Miss Baker and also Mary Adams. She's one of the instructional designers for our college. They spent a lot of time redoing and revamping our clinical shells to make them much more streamlined, user-friendly, clean. Everything that you guys need that, that you've had previously is in there, but it's in a much more efficient and easier to find way. But again, all the stuff you need in there, the templates. Also, the templates are in SLL for you. Everything you need is in there now. So you can really, outside of the syllabus and, maybe like the free practice prep, which we'll talk about later, really everything you need is already in SLL for you as well. So if you do have any issues with SLL, guys, always, no matter what it is, if you have any issues, start with your CE first. If they can't help you, they're either going to say, hey, I'm going to go get the answer and get back to you, or they will tell you who to reach out to. So if you're having SLL issues and if they can't help you, they will most likely tell you to reach out to Kathleen Johnson in our office, and that's her email. If you are having issues and you need assistance with that. The to-do, that's what I've already, like I said that earlier, either today, tomorrow, you should get your email with your placements because we do have them. Miss Hodge, Dr. Hodge actually is like love her to death, man. She helps me every semester, get these Corbin and Laurel and Clay and all the different places that you guys go to down there. She's got the contacts, guys, so she gets me the good ones for you guys to be placed with. So again, you'll be getting those sent out today or tomorrow. So again, just email those CEs and CTs once you get them and go ahead and, set yourself up to go to clinicals on Wednesday of next week. So I'm going to stop there and let's take any questions that you have regarding 450 clinicals. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
majoring in middle grades. So would I teach two science and two social studies?
Yeah. So what'll happen is when you get your placement, you'll have you'll have two teachers. So you'll have your science teacher and your social studies teacher. I remember you being in Whitley County.
Yeah.
But so what I want you to do, it doesn't have to be exact, but do 40 and 40 approximately with your hours, like 40 with one, 40 with the other. Start with one of them and do, your first 40 hours with one. You only have to do 3 lessons for us. So if you want to pick whichever one you want to do, 2 with science and 1 with the other. It doesn't matter to me how you want to do that.
Do I only teach 3 lessons or do I teach 4?
You'll only teach 3. The elementary, for my purposes for clinicals, it is only required for you guys to do 3. But I'm not talking about you, Abby. Elementary methods instructors require the elementary folks to teach all 4 content areas. And so I always tell them, pick your 3 best to do for uploading in SLL and for it being assessed for my purposes. But Abby, you'll just do 3 to just pick however you want to do that. Also, guys, the elementary folks, so there's a numeracy requirement now that the state has deemed that started a couple semesters ago. And with your math lesson, there's an additional rubric that has to be used. And we have a KMIT team. The rubric is KMIT. So we have a KMIT team. And Dr. Campbell and Dr. Dani Marie Miller, faculty in our program, they lead it. And then they've got some clinical educators and some folks in like the math department that they work with. And they have to do, with having to do that additional rubric and the fact that they will have you guys video that lesson, we ask that you guys do your math lesson first so that gives them ample time because there's 111 of you guys between elementary 450 and student teaching that they have to get through. So that's the reason why they ask for that to be first so that they have plenty of time to review those videos. score with those rubrics and, and give you guys that feedback that they're required to through the state. So just keep that in mind. Plan for your math lesson to be your first lesson. All right, any other questions? All right, we're going to talk about student teaching. Kind of crazy that the semester just started, but I'm talking to you about student teaching, right? Well, the reason why is because there is a lot of stuff that you have to do in advance. First thing you have to do is apply. So the application is in Slate, and it will open up and be open from September 1st through September 15th. And selfishly, guys, please apply early because it helps me, because that way I can go ahead and be seeing, which districts I'm going to be reaching out to and compiling, that stuff so that I can be working on getting those placements as quickly as possible. This slide will give you the link to the application. I'll also send out an email probably on Monday, the 31st, just, and I'll remind you guys a couple different times. But there's the link to the application. And then also after you've applied, there's a link to your status with that application. And the reason it's kind of nice is because there are a couple different people that it has to go through of approvals. Your advisor looks at it because, they want to go back, look at your degree works, make sure that, yes, you are ready, that there's nothing, because we don't want it to be, into student teaching and we're ready to graduate. And then we realize, oh, shoot, they're missing a class. So, so that's part of it. And then obviously my office reviews it as well. And then, so you can just see how it, where it is in the pipeline. All right, this is what it looks like. So the ones that have the red boxes around them, that's the only one, the info that you have to enter for that first screen. So application term, your student teaching in spring of 27. The next one, you will select your program or program area or areas of study. And then if you notice that third one, we're asking for your EPSB ID. So that's the ID with CAS in your EPSB account, not your 901 with EKU. So make sure you put that in. Then the next one is going to look a little bit familiar just because it's kind of based the same way as we've done your clinicals. We'll ask you to give us your top 3 district choices. And I'll go ahead and tell you now, because you're going to be student teaching and you're the first group that gets placed, you're going to get where you want to go. Like, you'll get your first choice. Now, if your district happens to not be listed, because there might be some independents or something that are not listed, that 4th box, you can just type it in there. The first question that we ask, and I know this is a little hard because you're only going to be there 1 to 2 times before you apply, but if you would like to stay with the teacher that you are assigned to for 450 for the first part of your placement, or in your case, Abby, or those 2 teachers being who you're with in student teaching, you can do that. And you can just tell me yes. And, obviously I have to go and, ask them and get the okay, but that is something that you can request. It's kind of nice because, where you guys are in 450 in the fall, it's going to be the same kids in the spring. So, you're already going to have those established relationships with them. So it's kind of nice to continue that on. So for example, you elementary folks, say that your 450 placement is in a K through 3 room, one of those. Then you'll stay with them for your first 8 weeks, but then your second 8 weeks, you would go to either a 4th or a 5th grade teacher's room, because you are required to get experience in both levels during student teaching. The next one is, I do ask if you have any relatives or siblings working or attending school in your district, because it is my preference, if possible. Now, having said that, if there's only one school, I'm not going to not let you be at your district, but I would like for you to not be at a school where you have family working, just because I think sometimes that can create conflict and you're not viewed as a colleague, and I kind of, and that's how I want you to be viewed. So that is my preference. So if there are any of those, just let me know on that application. The next page, you've seen this before, you've done it a couple times now. It's the character and fitness declaration. So just answer those questions. Your signature will just be you typing in your full legal name. And then the last page, it will ask you to, it'll tell you if there's any errors, but if you're good to go and you're satisfied, then you just hit submit application. And then that puts you into the pipeline to be to get your official approval with your student teaching application. And then that's kind of what that portal looks like, of like where it's at in the pipeline. Now, the next thing, I kind of talked about some of these already. So, you put down your top 3 districts. You can say, you let me know if you want to stay with your 450 teacher. The high school doesn't apply to you guys. You guys cannot request specific schools or teachers, but if there are schools or teachers that want you, they could let me know. And I can, ask if that, with our district contact, if we're good with that. And then the biggest thing on this slide is the last bullet point. Unless there is an emergency that would require me to change your placement. And that's, I'll give you an example. Like I've had a couple times, students have grandparents that have gone into really poor health and they needed to go back and help take care of them, and say they were already placed here in Madison County, but they live in Pike County. I'm gonna help you make that change because that's your family. You need to be there. But if it's just because I just want to go there, I want to go to that. No. And the reason why is because not only do we cultivate these relationships with the districts, but the student teaching semester is the only semester that the cooperating teachers actually get benefit from it. They get a stipend from us and they also get a stipend from the state. But the biggest benefit that most of them look forward to is that for every student they take per 8 weeks, they get 3 free credit hours of tuition. And a lot of our teachers use that to then get their masters and their rank 1. And so they're counting on that. So I don't want to go back and say, oh, you're not getting this student after all. Because, we have, a lot of CTs that they pay for their whole, their whole rank change, just taking student teachers. It's something I want you guys to do eventually. Once you've been out in the field for 3 years, you're able to start taking student teachers. And then that's when you're supposed to be calling Brandy, Miss Rose, hey, give me some student teachers so I can start working on my master's or or maybe you've already done your master's by that point and start working on your rank 1. So yeah, so that's the reason why we don't make the change unless it's an emergency. This next slide, there's a couple different things. So the first one, if you are not already an emergency sub for the district that you're going to put as your first choice, and you want to be able to sub for your cooperating teacher or teachers, because you're going to have 2, you can sub for them up to 10 days during student teaching, and you can do either CT, and you can go to the CT that's your second 8 weeks in the first 8 weeks. Like it just has to be one of your CTs. You can sub for them up to 10 days and get paid as an emergency sub those days. So, extra money. So if that's something you want to do and you're not already an emergency sub, I would go ahead and be reaching out to the districts about getting that paperwork done. I know Madison County, and I'm sure the other counties are very similar. I think in September is usually when they open their substitute teaching applications. So you will do that completely with your district. We don't do anything with that. Now, the second item, you probably heard from some of your fellow students that have come before you that we do allow for long-term subbing during student teaching. Now there's some caveats to that. First, this came about during COVID because, not only had we already been having a teacher shortage, but then it got exacerbated by, a lot of people retiring, getting out of the field. And so, the state said, okay, we will allow long-term subbing, but it has to be based on need. And it has to be initiated by the district. So the district has to tell us, we do not have any other qualified applicants. Can we have one of your students be a long-term sub for us? So if that is the case, then we will pivot to you to see if you, on those bullet points, if you meet all of those criteria. And do you want to do it too? Because you don't have to do it. This is your choice. But if the district does have a need and does want you to do it, you would have to have a minimum 3.0 GPA. You've never had any dispositional issues or been on a performance improvement plan. You're up to date on those clinical hours being logged. You have, and this will be something we'll talk about in a little bit, you have to have already passed all of your content praxis exams and your PLT. And if we do allow the long-term subbing, you are not allowed to take like a coaching position, club advisor, anything else with the school. And the reason why is that you're already going to be the teacher of record. And not only that, you're still going to be required to do all of the requirements of student teaching. So it's going to be a lot. And so we don't want you to have anything else on your plate on top of that. Next slide. There is an opportunity, if you so wish, that every semester we do offer student teaching in Ireland. If it's something you're interested in, reach out to Jennifer White in the study abroad office. She will usually at the beginning collect names and email to people who are interested. And then after the application period, she'll do like an informational session with you guys. And then if you're still interested, then there'll be talks of like, okay, these are deadlines for deposits and those kinds of things. But this is the way it works. And I'm going to use this semester as an example, but I will say that it does sometimes vary on when you go. But there's 2 going this semester. And if it's something you want to do, how they do it is we will have you do your placements here. They're doing 6 weeks and 6 weeks. So they're doing everything a little bit shortened. And they go ahead and do all their requirements that we need for the course during that, in those first 2 placements during that first 12 weeks. And then the last 4 weeks of the semester, they go to Ireland. And in the first 3 weeks of Ireland, you are placed in a town outside of Dublin. You are placed with a host family. They provide your meals and lodging. I think, they're really quaint towns. I mean, you walk to the school. But you're there for 3 weeks. There's not any requirements that we have of you. You're still logging your hours in SLL because we need to verify that you're getting up to the 70 days because that's for 490 hours is what 70 days is because that's the requirement for student teaching. But you don't have any other work that you do. There's no work that you do while you're over there. But you do, you're in the classroom for 3 weeks, and then that last week, you're done, and you actually just get turned loose to go to Dublin and have fun, and, and you get, you can have, they have organized, excursions and different things like that, and you get like a card for the metro and just all those things. We actually have a lot of people that end up, students that piggyback with it, and their family comes over for that last time period, or they even have extended their trip as like their parents have a graduation present, which is fun. But yeah, so if it's something you're interested in, reach out to Jennifer White. I will say there are scholarships available through the study abroad office, and there also are scholarships available through our college. The dean is really big on our students having a study abroad opportunity. So if it's something you're interested in, there are avenues of money available to make it a little bit better cost wise. Another option for you, and I know you've probably heard from others before you guys get a stipend while you're student teaching. This is brand new as of, I think this is the 3rd year now that this has been happening. The legislature, is putting money into the budget to give you guys a stipend while you're student teaching because it is a full-time job. It's a 50 to 60 hour a week job by the time you factor in how much you're at the school and then, prep time outside of the classroom. And so this is to help you guys either not work or not work as much, that kind of thing. You don't have to do anything to get it. It's actually a report that I send to Kia. So for you guys, I'll send that report in probably either late January, early February, and you will get a check mailed for $4,700. That's how much it is this year to the address we have on file with you. So the only job I have for you is sometime this semester, make sure that the address on file with EKU is the one you want that check mailed to, as well as that will be where your diploma is mailed to after you graduate. So just make sure that that's updated. Go into your My EKU and make sure that all, that's correct in there. Because that's the only thing I need you to do. I want to make sure that check gets to the right place. So after the application period, and when you guys apply, I'll send you the calendar invite, but I will hold a Zoom informational session, and that'll be on Thursday, September 17th, from 6 to 7, and we will talk about at that time, so don't worry about it right now, we will talk about that night, all the items that you're going to do for me in advance of student teaching. And just to kind of give you a little bit of what it is, like you're going to do a new background check, but it's going to be through Identigo. It's different than what you've done in the past. This one is the one that the districts use. But you'll do a new CAN check. You'll do a training through KET for promoting positive behavior. You'll go to student health services or your doctor's office and get a physical. You will sign up for your praxis exams and take your praxis exams prior to student teaching. So all of these documents that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to have a to-do list for you, you're going to turn this stuff in by October 15th. But for the praxis, when you turn it in, you're only turning in proof that you have already registered for it. So it doesn't have to be taken by October 15th. It just has to be taken before student teaching starts in January. So if you want to go ahead and sign up, but you don't want to take it until, December on the break, that's fine. And also, guys, if you don't pass it, that's okay. That doesn't keep you from student teaching. You just have to take it. And why we're doing this is because that way it shows you if you don't pass, like what areas you need to focus on for studying. And the fact that they only let you take them every 30 days. So we want to be able to give you ample time to retake and have those pass before you graduate so that nothing holds you up on us recommending you for certification. Okay. Just like we have in the past, we've updated it, but this time, this one might be a little bit more, you might care about it because, you want to focus in on those links for that free praxis prep. I would go ahead and, maybe look at those now and, and take some of those exams and see, how you do and see what you need to maybe study with. Then also, if you notice that third one out, and maybe you've utilized it in the past, but if you haven't, and I know, you guys are down in Corbin, but, you have to drive potentially, but, we have our clinical closet up here. It's across the hall from me, 4th floor of Combs. And, you guys are going to be in clinicals, more frequently this semester. And then obviously all day, every day when you're student teaching. So if you need some more professional clothing, and you feel free to come up here, it's free of charge. You pick out some stuff. There is, even fancier stuff for like job interviews, like blazers and things. So if you want to come do that, you're more than welcome.
Connie Hodge and I will shop for them when she's up on campus, and she can take them back and they can pick them up.
If you all need some stuff and you want to give us sizes.
Give us sizes. I'm really good at this anyway.
Connie can take it back to you.
I'm really good at getting those sizes, you all.
So just let us know if that's something that you need. That's this is something this is what it's here for. Also, guys, if any of you financially have a hardship in paying for your praxis exams or those background checks, CAN checks, we have a student support fund in our college, and it comes solely from our faculty, our staff, alumni, friends of our college. We have the annual giving day every year, and we raise money for that student support fund, and it is to help students that cannot pay for those. So if you have, if you need help with that, let me know, and I will get you hooked up with Kirsten Daughtery. She is the AA for one of the AAs for the School of Education, and she holds our School of Education credit card. So, and she will set up a time to Zoom with you to be able to get that paid for, if that's something that you need, because we don't want that to be, anything that holds you back. So just let us know on that. And then lastly, I don't know if this affects any of you guys, but I tell it to everybody, sometimes for whatever reason, you might have gotten off track and you may not be ready to student teach in the spring. If you aren't ready to student teach in the spring, just shoot me an email and say, hey, Brandy, I'm not ready yet. I'll be student teaching in the fall of 27. Will you move me to that list? Because I keep a list, and then that way in the spring, I'll email you and say, okay, from February 1st to 15th is the time for you to apply for fall student teaching. So just shoot me an email if you need to be moved to the next list. And then obviously that is my contact information, whether it be during the application period or after we meet to talk about the student teaching documents. Anytime you get confused on anything, just reach out to me. We can Zoom, we can talk on the phone, we can come up here, like whatever you need. That's what I'm here for, to answer those questions. No question is stupid. This is all new to you. So ask me if you have anything. So that is what I have today. What questions now do you have about student teaching? Nobody's got questions? Okay.
I had a question. You said it's like all day, every day.
Mhm.
So will it start like in February and then we go until the end of May doing it?
It'll start January, probably second or third. So
Okay.
literally,
because I forget the schools go back before we do. Okay.
so you literally do exactly as your cooperating teacher. So if there's PD days, you go. If whatever, if your teacher has bus duty in the morning, you're doing bus duty with that teacher. If they have a faculty meeting after school, you're staying for that. Parent teacher conferences, you're coming back for that. If they're, whatever, you're doing exactly as they do. And you're following that schedule, the district schedule. So you won't be looking at EKU spring break. It'll be your district spring break.
Okay.
Be aware of that when you're planning, if you're thinking about planning vacations or anything like that, it will be the district spring break that you have, not EKUs. And then you will go until, just let you know. So your last day of student teaching will be May 12th. And then you will have an exit seminar celebration. It's fun. It's a fun morning with us on the 13th of May. And then I'm going to presume, just on the basis of the last several semesters, you'll probably graduate on May 14th. So now that'll be EKU's main graduation. Corbin will have a separate one. That's always really fun. So that'll be how that works.
Okay,
This group is
you.
lucky. January 1st falls on a Friday. So the earliest she'll be going back to school will be January 4th, which is a Monday.
Yeah. And,
And I would say
districts vary. So, that'll be part of
days. Yeah. They don't normally like to start kids back on a Monday because it's a little crazy, but you may have a PD day or something like that on that Monday. You just never can tell.
And you'll get more information. Like I'll have the dates for you, like when we do that informational session, but you'll have a couple seminars that you will come to campus. Like you only come to campus twice for me. The first seminar, just because where you guys start in right in January, after New Year's, that we will have a Zoom for our day one, and that will be during the break in December. But I will give you that date. It's during the daytime. And like I said, it's online, but I'll give you the date for that during our Zoom session. And then the midway point of the semester, and that's kind of like what we call our switch date. So you'll end your first placement on a Thursday, and then we'll have our seminar day 2 on a Friday, and then you'll start your second placement on that Monday. But you'll get those dates. But you'll come up here for that day 2. We do mock interviewing with where we have like district representatives from all over the state come in, superintendents, principals, HR directors, and they mock interview you guys. And it's awesome. Like the students love it because they get such great feedback. It allows you to get the jitters out before before you're doing the real thing. We always get like such praise from the districts of how great you guys are. But you'll do that. We have a recruitment fair where we have around, anywhere between 30 and 40 districts that come in the middle of the day, and you guys get to walk around and, see what openings they're going to be having, what benefits they're offering, because all the districts now are competing for you guys. So, each of them kind of have their own little things that they'll offer to try to sway you. I always say that, talk to everybody, because even though, you guys may be from, the Corbin area, you never know where life is going to take you. And so it's kind of nice just to go ahead and make those contacts, so that you have them if life takes you to Western Kentucky or Northern Kentucky or whatever. Go ahead and just talk to those people.
Or Texas.
And then we also have some like PD during that day as well. So it's a really good, productive day. Did somebody have a question?
I said it could take them to Texas.
Yes, and for some reason, I don't know how they found out about us to begin with, but about 4 or 5 semesters ago, a district, Frisco, reached out to us. So it's right outside of Dallas, and they wanted to come up, and they have hired 4 of our students so far. And so now they come to every day 2. And they love us. They say we put on the best event. We have the best kids, like just all of it. So yeah. So if you just want, if you have nothing keeping you here and you want an adventure, you could always go to Texas.
And I made a contact this summer in Alaska. So
there you go.
Telling you more about that. That would be an excellent adventure. But Miss Rose, would you mind addressing like snow days, because that just to let them know.
Especially because you guys are the spring group, and that's typically, the majority of when we have weather. Okay, so if it's an NTI day, you guys are going to be able to count those. So you will be working with your CT on, whatever you're doing that day, whether it be grading or being available to students, with questions on their packets, or if they, whatever they're iReady, whatever they're using. Now, if it's a traditional snow day, that does not count. So NTI, yes, traditional, no. But there are plenty of days built in, guys, because where you're starting, most likely January 4th and going until May 12th, you're going to get more than 70 days. But it's nice to have that buffer, because because you could have snow days, or schools could be closed for illness. It's just, those things happen. So we have that built in, so that you guys should not have a problem getting to your 70 days. And we'll talk about like closer to time, like actually like probably day 1, or thereafter. I'll send out an email, but of how you guys exactly will log those, because it'll be a little different than you have done your previous clinicals, because when you go to log, there'll be specific, we want you to log if it's just a traditional in-class day, or if it's an NTI day, or if it's a PD day. There's different subsections for you to choose, so that we know what you were doing that particular day. I know it's a lot right now and it seems overwhelming, but it's going to be chunked out. And like I said, right now, just think about doing your 450 stuff and then the application. And then we'll meet, we'll talk about the documents, and then you can focus on that. and, you know, and then finishing up the semester and then student teaching. Shoot, there was something else I was going to tell you and it just escaped my brain. What was it? I'm sure I'll remember it. I'll tell you if I remember it. I like have a lot going on right now with first of the start of school. We're crazy busy. But no, if you have any questions, just let us know. You know, that's what we're here for. Anything before I let you go? All right. Well, thank you guys. And I hope you guys have a great semester. And probably the next time I'll be talking with you, unless you need something ahead of time, is, you know, over that Zoom informational on the 17th of September. So I look forward to seeing you guys again. And I'll send out an email with the PowerPoint and the recording. It'll probably be tomorrow. So, and then again, remember, be on the lookout for Vicki Gibson's email today or tomorrow with your placement. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.